No, Ryan's here. Now he'll know. I don't care. You already know probably like my top 5 or 6. It's almost like I talk about them a lot. Which also I will not have them in order here. I'll figure out the order off stream. But anyways, thanks for being here, Ryan. Hey man, long time no see. But not really. I guess a little bit of time no see in this chat because I only stream like once a week and it's in the morning on Thursdays, so most people can't make it. All right, so here's what we have here. We have a document. Let's see if I can zoom in on this section. Probably need to do this. Oh boy, that's gonna be hard to undo now. Hold on. Only drag it to the left there so that it's still undoable later. Yeah, that seems decent. You guys should be able to see that. Maybe not on mobile super well. I don't know. Let me know if it looks terrible, Ryan. All right, so what we have here is a list where my top 10 games are going to go right here. Honorable mentions, things that, were in contention for the list but didn't quite make it. Dishonorable mentions, something I can think of 2 games for at least. And then here's where the majority of the games are going to go. Those are just other games I played that, they weren't on the cusp of making the list and they weren't shit, but looks terrible on mobile. God damn it. God damn it. Okay. Well, I can zoom more in. Just gonna be a bit of a pain to get it back later. Honestly, it might be easier to just completely redo the scene when I need to fix it. Oh, 160p. That might be a you thing. Ooh, I don't like it that zoomed in because I like people to be able to kind of see more than one section of the list at a time. Maybe like right around there, maybe. That should be okay, maybe? Sure. Ugh. Yeah, it's too small there. Looks kind of... It doesn't look funky, it's just I can be typing in areas that you guys can't see, which is no good. I don't know. It'll look better in the archive and stuff. But otherwise, like anytime I'm typing down here, you guys just would not be able to see it. Or in others, which is like probably the main area I'm going to be typing here. I'll manage. Okay. Yeah, the notable games I did not play or finish. Every year there's those games that you're like, man, that really could have made my top 10. Maybe even should have, but I just didn't have time to play it or finish it. And I keep a big old list, ginormous list of games in my phone of games I played this year, that came out this year specifically. So we're just going to go through that. And we're going to kind of slot things in as we go. And then by the end, I got to, actually make some decisions on what is and is not top 10. So let's get started. So first we've got Hitman 3. I'll put that in notable games. All the Hitman games seem really cool. I'm sure I would enjoy them. I have not played them. I can make this font a little bigger. That might help. Just do that. Oh, should just do that for all these right now. All right. So Hitman 3. Sure, it's a cool game. I did not make time for it because I also didn't play Hitman 1 or 2. The Medium. Here's our first dishonorable mention. That game sucks. It's just not good. I didn't actually finish it. I played through about half of it on a stream, and then the rest of it I watched on YouTube just to see if the story goes anywhere. It doesn't really. Not anywhere good anyway. Why are you bolded, sir? Did I do that? Did I do that? The Medium. Don't play it. Destruction All-Stars. Put in others. That was a fine time. but certainly not on the cusp of a top 10 or anything. You know, we played it for maybe 2 days, maybe 2, and it was okay. East 9, ooh. I gave it an 8.25. Is that good enough for honorable mentions this year with how many games I have higher than that? Probably not. It probably just goes in others. But it's very good. There's just a lot of amazing games this year. I might put it up in honorable mentions. We'll see how many I end up with in honorable mentions. Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury. I'll put in honorable mentions for now because it's not like a lock for the top 10, but I love Bowser's Fury. Bowser's Fury is amazing. 3D World I also love, but it's an old game, so I'd feel weird about putting it on the list. But they come in one package, so. And Bowser's Fury is worth playing on its own. Plus Bowser's Fury. What else we got here? Persona 5 Strikers. I still haven't played Persona 5, so I did not make time for Persona 5 Strikers, but I'll put it on notable games because soundtrack at least is amazing. I know that from last week. Bravely Default 2. It's not a complete lock. I feel it in my bones that it belongs in my top 10. Oh, I just started writing Bowser again because I saw the word Bowser. And it started with a B. But I really love that game a lot. It's my most played Switch game of the year. If any Switch game makes the list, it's probably this one. Man, Switch really didn't have a great year, did it? Had some fun times, but not exclamation marks. There we go. I have one too many spaces there now. Let's see. Where am I? Bravely Default 2, Monster Hunter Rise. That's just gonna go in others. I had a good time with that too, but I didn't like stick with it. I didn't do a ton of post game or anything. Yeah, for sure. Hopefully next year will be great with Mario Rabbids, potentially Breath of the Wild sequel, hopefully an actual new Mario game instead of just like the short Bowser's Fury. I guess Bowser's Fury, I like technically I gave it a score higher than Bravely Default 2. But I might lean Bravely Default 2 out of the 2 to put on the list. We'll see. Monster Hunter Rise, Disco Elysium, Final Cut. And because of the way I do my list, I don't know that I would put that on the list anyway. I'd probably just put it under the list for last year. Because it came out last year, right? Or the year before? I don't know. But it's still, no matter what I want to, you know, the Final Cut version is the version I have. It's the version I would play. It's the better version. And I'm sure I would love that game when I play it. I know you love it, Ryan. Outriders. I'll just put in others. Honestly, I enjoyed Outriders a lot more than most people. But I don't know if it's honorable mention worthy. No. Returnal, definitely just in others for me. I know that's like one of Rob's favorite games of the year, a lot of people's favorite game of the year. I think it's fine. It's okay. It's definitely not the best loop game of the year. Out of the 4 I played, it's the second worst, in my opinion. I like Deathloop and The Forgotten City more. New Pokemon Snap, that's just gonna go in others. That was a good time, but it's not making the list. Resident Evil Village, there's no world where that does not make my top 10. Love that game. Played through it like 5 times. Hood, Outlaws and Legends, that was fine. If I had not been playing that with friends, specifically Alex, who is very passionate about Robin Hood, it probably would have been a dishonorable mention, honestly, because it was pretty janky. But I had an okay time with what I played. Mass Effect Legendary Collection, I'm not even going to put on here, because I probably wouldn't have considered it no matter what, just because it's just the first 3 games rebundled. But and also I didn't play through it. It's just one of those ones I put on the list in case I did, but I didn't, and I don't really plan to, honestly. Metopia, just in others. That game really drags in the second 2/3, the second and third. But it's a very funny, silly game that I like. SMT3 Nocturne. That's just a remaster. I don't think it's like a big remaster. All right, Ryan. I don't think it was like a big update or anything. It was just some graphical stuff, 60 FPS, better resolution, that kind of thing. And if any SMT game was going to make the list this year, it'd probably be SMT5. I don't think that one's making the list either. I think it's fine, but not as good as SMT4 Apocalypse, certainly. In my opinion, so far. Only 25 hours in. Only. Do I even need to put it on the list is really the question. Probably not. Not really. Knockout City. Ooh, that's definitely going an honorable mention, like on the bubble, because I really enjoy that game. Gave it a 9 in my little list here. We had such a good time with that. It's sad that we fell off, but there's always new multiplayer stuff coming out. You know, Halo Infinite, we are all loving, all having a great time with. And even that, a lot of us have kind of fallen off. I'm still playing Match a Day right now because of the seasonal event or whatever. And everybody, it's not like people uninstalled and are like, oh yeah, I'm done playing Halo. It's just, there's so many things to play at all times. Like, now we're playing some Naraka, you know, playing Back 4 Blood when the time comes up. We've been playing that off and on for like 2 months. Rainbow Six Extraction comes out next month. We really need to get through at least a campaign of Back 4 Blood before that comes out. Which we're close to, I think. We're on Act 3 at least. I think I got through like the first 2 chapters, something of Act 3 with Charles and Travis. Biomutants. That's a game I didn't play. I own it. I got it for like $4 or something because of a freaking bug on the EA shop thing. And I still didn't play it, so I don't know. I think that's the bad things about it, probably just because it got really bad reviews, frankly. Do I put it in notable games I did not play / finish? I don't see it having made my list. If I had played it, even, so probably not. Still one I own, technically, plan to maybe someday play. Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart can just go in others. There's no way that makes my list. I did like it a lot, but it was incredibly derivative. If you've never played a Ratchet & Clank game before, it's absolutely the best one to play. But if you have, you're going to be incredibly familiar with literally everything in that game, including every single weapon, except maybe 1 or 2. Oh boy, here's the biggest dishonorable mention on the list, probably. Dark Alliance. Did that have a bigger name? Was it just Dark Alliance? Dungeons & Dragons Dark Alliance is the old one. Or no, Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance is the old one. This one is D&D Dark Alliance, right? I think so. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong. But also, you know, let's just leave it as Dark Alliance. Everybody knows what I mean. God, that game sucks so hard. Mario Golf. That's just gonna go in others. I had a really good time with that, especially with the tournament and draft punks and the playing with my family a lot. So my family had an even better time with it. They played a lot even when I wasn't playing because they adore that game and they still ask to play all the time. So great game, great Mario Golf game. About as good as you could get from Mario Golf, but still just like a Mario Golf game, you know. It's a good time, but not blow you down amazing. Scarlet Nexus. Man, I gave that game a 7.5, but honestly, the story was such complete and utter trash. Like, just indecipherable fucking garbage that I'm tempted to put in dishonorable mentions. But it's not as bad as, like, the Medium or Dark Alliance was, so you know what? Let's put it in another. What's it called? Scarlet Nexus. That game super sucks, though. At least playing as the guy. Here, if you play as the girl, the story makes more sense, whatever. They shouldn't give you that option, though. If the story just sucks if you play as the guy. Monster Hunter Stories 2. Definitely a notable game I did not finish. I'm sure I will love that game. Because it's just Pokemon, but with Monster Hunter characters, and I hear this one plays a lot better than the first. But, I just didn't make time. Skyward Sword HD. That's one that would not make the list no matter what I did. No matter how good it is, because they barely updated it, you know. So I didn't make time for it either. So I'm just not gonna bother even putting it on the list, frankly. Pokemon Unite, man, I really enjoyed that game for a little while. And I even went back and played a match the other day because my brother needed somebody to play a match with for Quest or whatever. And it's still a really good time. There's a bunch of new characters. They're all still very fun. I don't know. I think I would have stuck with it and still been playing it if a lot of people had stuck with it and still been playing it. But playing by yourself in a MOBA in general is not the best time. Orcs Must Die 3. I feel like I didn't make a big splash. I'll put it on here. Notable games I didn't play. I don't own it. I didn't end up buying it. Welcome back. Maybe I did buy it on a recent sale or something. Or maybe I just saw it on a recent sale. I was like, do I pick that up? I don't know. But I really like Orcs Must Die 1 and 2. So potentially it could have made the list. It's certainly a notable game for my personal taste that I did not end up playing. Neo, The World Ends With You. No world where that is not on my top 10. Love that game. Adore it. No. Let's see. The Ascent. Tom's gonna hate this, but I did not enjoy that game at all. The fact that I was playing with 3 of my best friends and I still was not having a good time with the gameplay. Yeah, that game, no good to me. Dishonorable mention. Hunter's Arena, that's right. That's kind of like Naraka Bloodpoint, huh? But it was like free on PlayStation Plus when it came out. We just never ended up playing any of it. I don't know if it goes on notable games I did not play or finish. Probably not. Yeah, you know, if they fix all the bugs, like I still think it's probably just a mediocre game to me. But with all the bugs, yeah, no good. Yeah, I don't know if it goes in notable games I did not play. I don't see it like making my top 10 or anything, considering nobody talked about it at all. And I do at least hear people talk about Naraka Blade Point sometimes, and even that game's like, did that come out this year? I guess I didn't put it on a list or anything. Not that it will make my top 10. It's like a fine time, but I don't adore it or anything. I think it's fun. Release date. I think it came out this year. Oh. It must have been early access for a while, because this was just released on August 12th. That was not long ago at all. I should add that to this list. Naraka Blade Point. I haven't played enough to give it a score or anything, though. And then I'll just put in others. Naraka Blade Point. Alright. Get my chat back up. Back into 2021 games played. Where were we? What was the last thing we did? Pokemon Unite? Orcs Must Die 3, Neo, The Ascent, Hunter's Arena, Ghost of Tsushima, Iki Island expansion. I thought that was amazing. I don't think as a DLC by itself it's worth putting on my like GOTY list. But it is very good. I guess I should rate out the whole thing. And I do consider, I mean, I guess it depends on the DLC or expansion or whatever, but I do consider those for my GOTY lists and stuff. Iki Island, Aliens Fireteam Elites can just go on others. I had an okay time with that. Playing with Travis and Charles, and then with you and Tom, Brian. But I don't think it's amazing. I mean, if I was gonna put a game like that on my list, it would be Back 4 Blood probably, but that one I also don't think it's making the list. Psychonauts 2. I like that game. Gave it an 8.25. But I don't love it the way many people on the internet do. I wish I could see what they see in it, but I do not. Tormented Souls. That's right. That's the game your buddy recommended. That's very Resident Evil, very classic Resident Evil. That looks very cool. Let's go on notable games I did not play. Was it notable? I don't know. Let's look at like some reviews or something. I mean, I guess I might as well just stick it on there because I really like that type of game. Still gonna look up if it's like a 60 on Metacritic or something. It's like, probably need to play that. 72. I'll still put it on there. I'll give it a mention. I do want to play that one. Gosh, this Note app sucks. I'm moving to a new one next year, thank goodness, because this one is bad. Where was I? Kataria Fables, I was mildly excited about. I don't know if anybody even remembers what that game is, but it's like a top-down Stardew Valley kind of city builder thing, but with cats. But it came out and got terrible reviews. Even Jeffem, who like drafted it for, when MinMax does their games I get to play for the rest of the year thing, he ended up grabbing that, and he didn't mention it at all on the podcast, so I assume he either didn't play it or didn't like it. Yeah, no good from what I hear. But I didn't play it, so I won't put it in dishonorable mentions or anything. Tales of Arise. I'm gonna put it up here for now. I have so many RPGs to consider that it could fall, but I don't see it falling. It's really amazing. It's a stunning game. Amazing soundtrack too. Life is Strange: True Colors. I still haven't finished. I've heard some amazing things about chapter 4 and 5 specifically. I've only gone through chapter 3. But like I also hear from a lot of people. I know, Ryan, you heard that like, oh, chapter 3 is not that strong. I heard from a lot of people chapter 3 is the best chapter, and it's what will sell you on the game. And I thought it was fun. Thought it was interesting and weird. It didn't sell me on the game completely, I like where I'm at right now without having finished it is like, if Life is Strange: True Colors is the best Life is Strange, as many people have said, then I don't think I need to go back and play the other ones, even though I already own them and have them downloaded somewhere. And it's not like I'm going to finish that game before tonight, so nothing's going to change in terms of my opinion before we do the list at the very least. I'll just put it in. Man, I guess I'll put it in notable games, because it could completely turn around, right? I like the character. Doing others or notable games is really the question. Yeah, I'm going to finish it probably within the next couple weeks, and I don't think it's going to change my mind. I'm just going to put in others. No shade to people who really adore this game. I think it's doing some cool things, but I don't know. I don't love the writing. I don't love I like the overarching story, and I like the characters, but the character moments are awkward and bizarre in not great ways often. WarioWare Get It Together, that goes in others. I had a lot of fun with that game. I just started typing. My brain is broken. I just see Life is Strange above it and start typing that again. WarioWare Get It Together. Had a good time with that game. I wish I had been able to play more of it co-op, but I tried to play it with my mom. She immediately fell off. She was not a fan of the weirdness. And it doesn't have online co-op, which is a big fucking problem for that game. It sucks. Or online competitive, online anything it doesn't have. Oh, wait, now I'm on Kataria Fables. Did I write that twice? Oh, I did. Wow. Delete that. Deathloop. That just goes in others for me. It's an okay game. Good game even, but it didn't blow me away. Did not blow me away. And I know for a lot of people it did, and that's fine. Kenna Bridge of Spirits, another one that really let me down, honestly. Beautiful looking game with really good music. And the combat's even pretty decent early on. But really, I mean, the biggest problem with the game is that they need a difficulty between baby mode, you're invincible easy, and you die in 2 hits. Poorly balanced game, for sure. And also feels a little jank, like platforming-wise and stuff. I had an okay time with it. But hopefully... Oh my god, so many retweets, so many likes. Hopefully that team gets a chance at a sequel and can make it a lot better. That would be nice. Let's see. What do we have next? Oh my god. This Note app sucks so bad. Sorry, Life is Strange, Deathloop, kinda. Diablo 2 Resurrected. I didn't play because Blizzard's got shit going on. So, and I had a million other things to play. Like, I probably would have made time for it if a bunch of other people picked it up, or if, Blizzard wasn't a trash company. I just would have made time. But because Blizzard is a trash company and I had a million other things to play, I was like, you know what? I'll just skip it. And I don't know that it needs a spot on this list. Yeah, it would have been my first time playing Diablo 2 if I'd played it, so maybe it would have potential to actually make the list. But, probably not. Doesn't really need to be written down. Lost Judgment, definitely notable game. I did not play or finish. I still haven't played the first one, but I love all the Yakuza games. So I don't see why I wouldn't love those. Super Monkey Ball Bananamania. That's another game I did not play or finish. I don't know that it's notable. I don't think it would have made my top 10 or anything, but I still want to play that. I put it on a bunch of lists for people for a game I would gladly take for Christmas. Same with Hot Wheels Unleashed and Nickelodeon All-Stars, the next two on my list. I don't see either of them having any potential to make my top 10, but they seem good. Also, Cruise and Blast, which I don't have on here, I don't think, and I should add on here. Is another one in that same category of seems very fun. I definitely want to play it at some point, but not like top 10 worthy, most likely. I would assume. Far Cry 6, man, that's close to being a dishonorable mention, honestly. I really did not end up enjoying that by the end, but I had a good time playing a little bit of co-op with you, Ryan, and I don't think it's a bad game. It's just another Far Cry. And dishonorable mentions is for bad games. Metroid Dread. Ooh, man, I'm gonna put that up here for now, at least. I think that probably makes my top 10. It's really, really, really good. The best Metroid game of the year that I played. I didn't play Fist, which I know Tyler's gonna be talking about, I'm sure. Dungeon Encounters and Voice of Cards, those two weird little kind of indie games that Square Enix put out this year. I didn't play either of them. I don't think either of them would have made my top 10 list. I'll be curious to see if Voice of Cards made yours, Ryan. But I don't know. The demo for Voice of Cards left me pretty not excited about it. And Dungeon Encounters seems cool, but very bare bones. Like a cool but very bare bones version of something like an Etrian Odyssey, which are also really good games, but usually not top 10 worthy games even. So I won't put either of those on the list anywhere. Back 4 Blood. I'm just gonna put that in others. I think that's a good time. But it didn't like blow me away. It's just, new Left 4 Dead, which is good. But not like, oh my god, everybody, you gotta play Back 4 Blood. I wasn't like that, Yeah, Far Cry is just, it's a good game. Fine game. That's a good way to put it. Gloomhaven is a tabletop game that I really want to play. I've had for ages now, and I keep trying to get my family to play it, and they refuse. And they brought out a PC version of it this year that keeps most of the things from the board game the same, which seems really cool. I did not make time for it. That would be a good one. I can't believe I haven't brought that up to Tom and Tyler for Wasted, because I think that would be a good Wasted game. It's up to 4-player, I think. Maybe even more than that. But it's also very Divinity 2 energy. So, and they already have that on the docket for someday. But that game seems very cool. I'll put it on notable games I did not play or finish. A lot of good talk about that PC version of that tabletop game. Guardians of the Galaxy, I like a lot. It's not like a lock, but it's definitely on the bubble here, on the cusp for top games. I gave it an 8.75 for reference. Riders Republic is just an other. I had a good time with that. I would have played a lot more of it if people had continued asking me to play more of it, but it's not something I ever played by myself at all, or ever had any temptation to play by myself at all. Age of Empires 4, I'm not an RTS guy. That's mostly just Ben Hansen talking a lot about it. Made me be like, maybe I should give it a shot. but I never did. And if I'm being honest with myself, I probably never will. It'll stay on this list forever, not getting a score. Mario Party Superstars I have not played. And I don't think it's a notable game I did not play or finish. It's probably fine. Forza Horizon 5. I know this is sacrilege for you, Ryan, but it just goes in others for me. It's an okay time. I still haven't like rolled credits or anything. Rolled credits. I haven't done enough races to even get to the point of having enough, what is that, notoriety or whatever, fame. So technically roll credits to do the final race, whatever the hell. But I have a good time when I play it with friends. SMT5. I'll put that in notable games I did not play or finish, but honestly, I don't think it would make my list anyway. I'm having a fine time with it, but not as good as SMT4 Apocalypse, which I really adored, or even SMT4, which I really adored, but that one I played when I was much younger, so I don't put a lot of like stake in that, you know? I am 25 hours into that, and I'm having a fine time, like I said, but I did not finish it. Battlefield 2042, I don't think would make my top 10 list, even if I had played it, but I didn't play it. Shining Pearl probably just goes in others. Man, I'm gonna have to move some games up from others just to fill out, or well, I haven't gotten to my indies yet. That's right, this is just like AAA stuff. I just noticed I'm getting very close to the bottom of the list. Pokemon Shining Pearl. This might be a lot easier than I thought, though, you know, to actually do this list. Yeah, I'll be curious to see where it landed on you and Tom's list. I'm sure it's on Tom's. I'm not positive it's on yours, but I assume so. Pokemon Shining Pearl. Halo Infinite also. I really love the multiplayer, but the campaign I think sucks, frankly. It's still got that great Halo combat, and that carries it, but it's like the most boring open world design imaginable. With a bunch of like hallway missions in between the really boring open world segments. I don't, yeah, no. I bet you are, Ryan. Did I put Cruise and Blast on here when I was talking about those games earlier? Or did I only put it on this list? Oh, that's right. It's not going to make any list. So I didn't bother putting it on there. And then Big Brain Academy is the last game I have on here that I have not played yet. Seems fun. Would not make my top 10, I'm sure, though. So I won't put it on notable games or anything. Okay. Let's go. Well, let's pop through mobile indie real quick, or mobile VR, I mean. RE4 VR, I did not finish. I'll put it on others. I'm not very far in it. I do enjoy it. I don't think I would put it on my list anyway, just because, I mean, it's a pretty significantly different in terms of a port, but it's still, I don't know. It's still just port. And that's a game that I don't like adore to begin with. Nova Island, I played on mobile this year, and it's kind of good. I think Dan Tack put it on a list of like underrated games from the year. I don't think it's really underrated. I think it's okay. It's a weird like cross between tabletop and like card game. Hearthstone's Mercenaries mode I played a lot of, that came out this year. But I fell off of it because it got incredibly boring and grindy, and there just wasn't anything to do. So definitely not, doesn't make any kind of list, really, I don't think. I guess I could put it on others, technically. Same with Nova Island, but meh. Final Fantasy VII First Soldier I haven't played. I would really like that to actually come to a console. I don't like having to hook up a controller to my phone to be able to play this thing without trash controls. League of Legends Wild Rift, I think technically came out this year. And I've been having a good time with that. I haven't even gotten through the tutorials of it, though. So what does that say? And then, oh, I have Shovel Knight Pocket Dungeon on here, but because I assumed, called Shovel Knight Pocket Dungeon, that it was a mobile game, but it is not. I need to just put that in indie games. And I haven't actually played it yet either. Shovel Knight Pocket Dungeon. What a bad name for a game that's not on fucking mobile. Okay. So then let's go to the other big list, which is indies. One sec. Cyber Shadow. That just goes in others. That was a fun game. But some really frustrating boss designs and checkpoints. The soundtrack's amazing though. I'm glad Tyler brought one track from that. I almost brought a track from it for our podcast because it's real good. It's real good. Which that podcast is live, by the way. Little Nightmares 2. Ooh, I'll put that in honorable mentions. I really, really enjoy that game. The vibe of it is just really, really good. Deserves more credit, honestly, I think. Is it a... No, I think it's just the number 2. Rogue Heroes, I will also put in honorable mentions for right now. Man, I had such a good time playing that with my brother and my mom. I know online was like broken at launch, and they fixed that eventually. I just played offline anyway, though, so it didn't really matter, but that game is a freaking blast. Like, it's Link to the Past with 4-player co-op, randomly generated dungeons, very good roguelite progression, where, you know, you die, but then you have a bunch of money and you go spend it on upgrading things, and then you don't die because you're stronger and better. Faster. Stronger. I already said stronger, but I said it again. Oh, I skipped over Oliha. That's another one that can go in honorable mentions. I really like that game from earlier this year. I would have never heard of it or seen it if Ben Hansen hadn't recommended it, but he did, and it was super fun. It's like weird 2D side-scroller with interesting pixel art and a bizarre story, but I appreciate it. It feels like one that I would have to replay again to be able to even put it on my top 10 list, because I don't have much to say about it at this point. I don't remember a lot about it, but I really liked it at the time. I gave it an 8.75. Ghosts and Goblins Resurrection came out earlier this year. I did not make time for it, and I don't think it would have made the list, so I'm not going to put it on notable games that I didn't play. Everhead definitely goes in honorable mentions for now. Again, anything in honorable mentions has a good shot of making the top 10 list still. That game's super cool. Very... what's the game? Undertale. Very Undertale inspired in terms of, like, a weird, subversive narrative. But, like, just gameplay-wise, it is amazing. It's just, like, you go to characters and you have fights with them, and the way you fight them is, like, they're playing a song, one of the song tracks from the game, and they're sending out, like, waves, basically kind of like Guitar Hero, like... What do you call that? The Guitar Hero scrolling board thing. They're basically sending those at you, but you're like a little guy at the end of that track dodging and jumping over their blasts and stuff until the song ends. And it's super cool, super fun. Definitely recommend that game. Curse of the Dead Gods, I think just goes in others. I had a good time with that, but not good enough to make my top 10. Loop Hero's another one that just goes in others for me. I fell off that game pretty hard after... I mean, I guess I played like 20 hours or something. Progression in it just felt absurdly slow compared to other roguelites, I guess you would call them. I guess you would call that kind of... It's a very unique game, and I like it in theory. I just fell off it pretty hard. Narita Boy... I didn't particularly love. I didn't hate it either, though. I won't put it in dishonorable mentions or anything, but it was fun. It was decent. Oh, It Takes Two. There's no world where that's not in my top 10. Not actually an indie game, obviously, published by EA, but at this point, like, I have to separate indie and AAA as, like, the feel of them, I guess, more than the actual publisher. Trials of Fire, that's right. That's a game Travis recommended to me. I don't know if it goes in notable. It seems really cool, though. It's like a card game, but kind of like Divinity or Fallout, old Fallout inspired in terms of, like, the way you progress through the game and stuff. But I think it's a roguelike as well. I don't know. But I ended up playing it. Kazemi and the Wild Mass I have on here. I never made time for that. I like the demo that I played. It's kind of like a cross between Sonic and Donkey Kong Country. But my buddy, who was super excited for that, shouts out to Commander Lionheart, said that it turned out really bad. So I didn't end up playing it. Rain on Your Parade is an indie that came to Game Pass earlier this year, where you play as a cloud and you just, like, rain on people and make them miserable, it seemed like. And that seemed super fun, but I didn't make time for it again. And I don't think it's worth putting on my like notable games that I didn't play. Before Your Eyes, I'll put in honorable mentions. I finally played that. I had some serious technical issues with it, and it gave me a migraine like 40 minutes in that made me have to quit the game and go lay down for a couple hours, which super sucked. That happens sometimes with first-person games. I don't know what it is exactly that triggers it for me, but it happened with that one. Not being able to have my glasses on probably hurt that. Like it has a setting to calibrate for having your glasses on, but it was just clicking through every scene even when I wasn't blinking, and that ruins the game, it turns out. But I think it's a really cool, unique idea, and I definitely bawled my eyes out at the end. Like, mind you, I wasn't really feeling the narrative until like near the very end. I think it's a little emotionally manipulative, which is something I'm tired of in games. Like, there are games where I genuinely feel emotion because the story is really well written and really just done incredibly. Like Neo, The World Ends With You. But most games I think are just emotionally manipulative in a way that is abusive, frankly. That's why The Last of Us Part 2 did not make my list last year. I don't think that was actually like an incredible narrative. I think it was an emotionally manipulative narrative. Wait. For Your Eyes. Edge of Eternity. Trying to even remember what that was. That was like a weird indie JRPG. I didn't play it. I don't own it. I don't know if I even plan on playing it at this point. Not going anywhere on the list. Ender Lilies. Man, I heard a lot of really great things about that. I'll put it on notable. That's like a 2D side-scrolling From Software-inspired game that looks very cool. The art style was a big turnoff to me at first, but so many people talked about how good it was that I added it to this list anyway as, I want to play that. Maybe it'll come to Game Pass someday. That'd be great. Subnautica Below Zero. I put on here while I was playing Subnautica earlier this year because I was enjoying it a lot, but then I don't know, it just got to be too much stress and I didn't feel like playing it anymore, so I never even finished Subnautica. I don't know that I'll ever play Subnautica Below Zero, which is on Game Pass now, by the way. I think both of them are, Subnautica and Below Zero. But still, it's on here. I won't put it on any of these lists up here, though. The Wild at Heart. I don't think it's worth giving a dishonorable mention, but I didn't really enjoy it. That's like a isometric Pikmin-inspired game. It just got really boring really fast. Like within the 2-hour stream I did of it back when I did Indie Sundays every Sunday. Maybe I did 4 hours when that game came out. I'm not sure. But I like just in the stream that I did of it, I got really bored. Was ready to be done. Oh, here's our next dishonorable mention. Chris Tales. What a stinky poop game. Trash. Hated it. Probably would have been fine with it if I hadn't finished it, honestly. It's so long and it doesn't change, and a lot of the mechanics start to grate and they make a million terrible decisions in terms of narrative and game design, and it's just bad. Don't play it. Death's Door. That's definitely, I love it a lot. It's a 9. I'm just, because I don't know if it's a lock for the top 10. Probably goes in honorable mentions for now. But I really, really like that game a lot. And it has an amazing soundtrack by David Fenn, I want to say his name is. Tribes of Midgard was fine. I wouldn't have picked it up if Tom hadn't convinced me to pick it up. But I had a good time playing with Tom the few times that I did. Sky technically came out this year for consoles. If you guys don't know what that is, it's the game from the Journey developer, their mobile game that they put out a year and a half, 2 years ago, something like that. They brought it to consoles this year, Switch at least. I'm not sure if it's on other consoles, but I didn't make time for it. I guess I can put it on honorable mentions. I should figure out what the full name of it is. It's like Sky, Child of Light or something. Children of Light. I don't know. Children of the Light. Yeah, Sky, Children of the Light. But then again, I don't know how much it would have hit me because I'm not even a big like Journey fan, honestly. And that's the game everybody insists is like their best one. The Forgotten City. No world where that doesn't make my top 10. freaking adore that game. So glad I played that. Underrated game. I guess I won't say much more than that. I'll say a lot about it on the podcast. I'm upset about the reputation it had, at least among the min-max like conversation they had about it. But I think that like just released today, technically, for people who don't back them at the Backstage Pass tier. So definitely won't say anything about that. But I was not a fan of the conversation they had about it. Grime. I'll put that on notable games I didn't play. I had a really good time with that demo. It's another side-scrolling From Software inspired game where you play as like a soul inside of rock or something. It's weird, but I had a really good time with just like the core gameplay. Metroidvania From Software is just a cool combo. I'm glad more devs are doing it. Dodgeball Academia, I'll put that in honorable mentions, at least for now. I like that game a lot. Short, sweet, indie JRPG with really not JRPG even, I shouldn't say. RPG with really fun combat mechanics. Like you get into a battle and then it's dodgeball. Like you're dodging balls, you're throwing balls, you're charging up ultimates and stuff. Super, super good. Great year for dodgeball games. What's next? Dreamscaper I didn't make time for. That's like a indie rogue like or light, I'm not sure. Dungeon crawler kind of game that seemed interesting but not like amazing. Garden Story. If it weren't for the fact that Tyler adores that game, it might be a dishonorable mention, honestly, but I didn't play enough of it to call it that. I just did not have fun with it at all in the time I played it. I was so fucking bored the whole time. I kept falling asleep. But I'm glad Tyler loves it so much, and we'll have nice things to say about it. Axiom Verge 2, it goes in honorable mentions. It won't make the list just because Dread's probably gonna almost definitely be up there. And it's very similar, but not quite as good. But still very fun. I played Axiom Verge and Axiom Verge 2 this year, and I love them both. I think I like the first one more, though. Boyfriend Dungeon, I didn't make time for, and I don't think would make this list. I'm not into, like, dating sim games. I know some people really love that game, but other people say it's, like, toxic and bad in terms of, like, writing and stuff, and almost everybody universally agrees that the dungeon crawling mechanics are not that great, so didn't make time for it. Still have installed technically, but I don't know why. 12 minutes. Boy, there's a dishonorable mention for you. I hate that game. That game's so dumb and bad. It's the worst time loop game of the year by a lot out of the 4 that I know of. Well, the 4 big ones that I know of, I guess just to say. Recompile, man, most people didn't even hear about this game, I'm sure. It came to Game Pass. It's like a 3D platformer. It's like it's a 3D platformer where you play as like Data inside of a computer. I don't know if it's worth giving a dishonorable mention. I only played like 2 hours of it, but I really did not like it at all. I played enough of it to know that I don't like it at all, so I'll still put it on this list though. Recompile. Road 96 I didn't play. That's that roguelike narrative game where you're like on a road trip to try and get, not a road trip, I guess I shouldn't say, you're trying to escape the country basically before an election that could doom you. And it seems interesting, but even like Leo, who was super hot on it from trailers, didn't end up liking it very much, and I don't think Sarah liked it, even though she streamed a ton of it from Binmax, and that's like my main source of gaming opinions at this point, although I do, you know, I've familiarized myself with who I line up with and who I don't in terms of opinions. Baldo. I didn't actually end up playing that, but it tanked my fucking was it Fantasy Critic rating super hard. Tanked it into the freaking trash because people hated it so much, and I know Tyler ended up picking it up and he hated it. Because I didn't play it, I won't put it on dishonorable mentions, but I also, yeah, it's not a notable game I didn't play. It seems like it's bad by all accounts. Splitgate, I've had downloaded for a long time, and I keep begging people to download and play. At this point, Halo Infinite's out, and Splitgate is basically Halo, but with portals. So I don't think anybody will ever play it with me. I don't know that it goes on notable games I didn't play. I don't know that it would make the list, especially since Halo is not even making the list, even off of its really good multiplayer. But, cool game. Still want to play it. Oh boy, here's one. I'll put it on honorable mentions. Wildermyth is not in my top 10 for sure. I had a fine time with that game. I had a lot more fun with it because I was playing co-op. When I was playing solo, it was just like, this is like XCOM, but not as good. But I like the procedural narrative stuff. I think that stuff's really interesting and bold, and I think it works really well. But I don't think... Why does it want me to put Wildermyth? I don't think it... I don't know. It didn't blow me away, you know? I don't think it belongs in my top 10 personally, but I'm glad a lot of people really adored it. I think it's still JV Gwaltney's Game of the Year. Ask Footbot about playing some split game. Oh, okay. I want to get the squad though, you know? I want to get a squad, 4 people. But also, like, I don't know. Does Foot play Halo? I feel like with Halo out, it ate whatever lunch Splitgate had, which was probably not a very big one to begin with. But still, the idea of playing Halo with portals is very cool. If Microsoft, I guess, wants to be like real dicks, they should just put like a portal gun in a special mode of Halo or something and be like, hey, we can do it too. It's not like you have the friggin' trademark on portal guns. If anybody had that, it would be Valve. Shit, where was I? Not sure if he plays Halo. Okay. We should find out. We should get him in the Spartan tag if he is. Fist, I did not play. I know Tyler loves it. I'm sure I would like it. I like Metroidvanias generally speaking, but I didn't play it. Does it go on? I guess, you know what? I'll put it on notable just because I know Tyler loves it so much. The Artful Escape, I've had download on my Xbox forever. I've had plenty of chances where it's like, that game's only 2.5, 3 hours, something like that, and I could have just sat down and played through it, and I decided not to. And I think that speaks volumes about how not excited I am to play that game. Honestly, a lot of people, like, everyone says, probably put this title in there. Everyone says, like, you know, gameplay is incredibly simple. You're just going left to right, jumping every once in a while, but it's very easy. And the music they love, and I think the music's good. Not amazing, but it's good. I like the song that Tom picked for our stream, or for our podcast, I should say. And everyone also says that the art style is just amazing, ridiculously amazing. I think that art looks bad. I hate the look of it. So if that's like the best thing the game has going for it, I don't think that game's for me. So I didn't play it. Monster Crown, that came out this year. That's a Pokemon-like. I think I showed you a trailer for it when you were here, Ryan. And I still kind of want to play it, but I got really bad reviews when it came out. Not really bad, like middling reviews. So I didn't end up making time or money for it. Lost in Random, I hear a lot of great things about. Another one that I just haven't made time for. You can't stand the Sable art. I think that's fair. I think it's hard to look at when you're playing the game. I think it looks really good in screenshots, but it's really hard to look at when it's in motion, to me as well. I think I agree. But yeah, Lost in Random, that game seems super cool. I wish I had made time for it, but I didn't. Just go on notable games I didn't play. Would it have been that big of a deal that it would have made my list? I don't think so. Where did it end up on? Like Metacritic? Yeah, I know everybody gets mad that I put Stake in Metacritic, whatever. I don't know why people hate aggregations of scores so much. 78, yeah, probably would not have blown me away based on that. I don't know. But it looks cool. Still want to play it. Kraken Academy, another indie that looks cool. I don't know. I don't think that one came to Game Pass. Did it? No, I don't think so. Has a cool art style. You play as like a kid who goes to a school that's attacked by Kraken, like a weird space Kraken or something. I don't know. It seemed bizarre and fun, but I didn't make time for it, and I don't think it didn't look bizarre and fun to like an absurd degree. And I can always change these lists later. You know, if I do play Kraken Academy someday and turns out it's the next Omori, it can still make the list. I change my list all the time. I don't mind. It's just for the podcast, it would obviously not be on there. Eastward, it's definitely not a dishonorable mention because I think it's still a good game. It just goes in others, but that game let me down quite a bit. Wasn't nearly as good as I hoped it to be, but it was still an okay time with an amazing soundtrack. One of the best soundtracks of the year. Agree, good stills, bad emotion, yeah. Flynn, Son of Crimson. I don't think that goes in honorable mentions either, but I had a really good time with it. Goes in others. Fun side-scrolling platformer. Action platformer, I guess I should say. Deltarune Chapter 2 I didn't play, and at this point I'm probably just going to wait for the full thing to release to play any more of it. I played Chapter 1 ages ago, barely remember it. If I was going to play Chapter 2, I would need to play Chapter 1 again to even remember what's going on. And I don't want to play Chapter 1 again, and then play Chapter 2, and then wait for the whole thing to come out, and then play Chapter 1 and 2 again to play through the rest. Probably just going to wait at this point. I don't even know why it's on this list. Sable, we were just talking about. Yeah, the art style is really hard to look at for a long time in motion. I have to drink more water. I'm going to fuck up my throat before we even get to the podcast tonight. But yeah, hard to look at in motion for me, and I really hated that first hour of gameplay. It was so absurdly boring in that demo. And then, like, God, it's just the worst demo imaginable, because the second that you get your speeder bike built and they like make it where you don't have to ride the shitty loaner bike that you start the game with for the first hour, they fucking end the demo. You didn't get to see, is this new bike actually fun to drive around unlike that trash bike? Who knows? Go play the first hour of the game again when it releases and try to find out. And I never did. I don't think it's dishonorable mention, especially because I didn't even play the full release, but it definitely doesn't go anywhere on here for me. Tales of Iron is an interesting, like, I think that's the card game. Let me remind myself what this is. Yeah, it's like a side-scrolling card-based, I think it's card-based. Maybe not. Maybe it's just strategy. Kind of like a Swords and Soldiers kind of thing. I know Dan Tack played it, liked it a lot. Want to play it someday. I don't know that it goes on notable games, though. Toem. Toem's super cool. Super fun. Put it in honorable mentions for now. That game is very fun. You just run around, you take pictures. Adorable art style. Very funny, silly game. But not like, I don't know, not like blow me away amazing or anything. You know, the story didn't really go anywhere. The thing that you're going towards the whole time that's built up to be a really big deal is like, it's kind of cool. Not like mind-blowing amazing or anything. Origami 2, I still didn't even give that a score because we didn't play all the way through it, but I feel like I played enough of it to know that it's probably just an others for me. I had a good time. But not a good enough time for it to be top 10 or anything. Man, I really hate, I don't know what it is, but Twitch has been broken for a while for me, like the last couple weeks at least, where it'll keep saying repeatedly over and over and over again, welcome to the chat room. Like, it's probably said it 14 times today, and I'll keep thinking there's a new message in chat, but no, it's just welcome to the chat room. Let's see. We're getting kind of towards the bottom. No. Dandy Ace, I did not make time for this year. But I have it downloaded from Game Pass. And it seems cool. It's like a roguelike. I played the demo earlier this year, maybe last year, I don't know. It's a roguelike, like, action game. I don't know, it's very Hades in terms of, like, design. Like, the overhead isometric view and combat and stuff, but not nearly as good. From the demo, at least. And I still want to play it someday, maybe. But we'll see. ActRaiser Renaissance. I have that on here because I was really excited for the announcement of it, but I heard it was really bad, so I haven't played it. Doesn't go anywhere on this list, I don't think. Oh, there's Cruise and Blast. I guess that is technically an indie game, huh? That's why it's on here. That's why it's on here, not on the other one. Let me delete it off the other one before I confuse myself. Okay. Yeah, Cruise and Blast we already talked about. Unsighted will go in honorable mentions for now, at least. I had a lot of fun with that game. I think its core, like, mechanic that makes it really different from other games where everything has... Oh, what? It's just writing honorable. Where everything has life bars. Not life bars, like a timer on it, basically. Every NPC, you as a character, your little, like, helper, fairy lady, everybody's got a timer for how long they're gonna live, and you have to find a rare resource and pick and choose who you're gonna give it to keep them alive. Two things wrong with that mechanic. One, it's not fun. It's really stressful. It makes the game actively less fun. So I ended up turning it off after like 2 dungeons because I was just like, this is stupid. I'm wasting my time with this dumb shit. 2, and this is kind of a spoiler, I guess, but they just completely fucking shit on that mechanic and throw it away at the end anyway. If you get the true ending. So it doesn't even matter, that mechanic. But in terms of just the core gameplay, like one of the best isometric Metroidvanias I've ever played. It's like on par with what's that developer? What's that game? They made a game this year. Fuck. Let me find the name of that game they made this year. That I can't remember the Solar Ash, the Solar Ash developer. What was their last game? Hyper Light Drifter. It's like on par with Hyper Light Drifter. And yes, the game is in all caps. I did that on purpose. Same with Amori. That's actually spelled all caps in its title. Which I'll actually, this isn't on the list for this year because of the way I organize my games, but I'll still put it on the list for honorable mentions. It would be in my top 10 for sure if I was considering it for this year. It's my number 1 game for last year, retroactively. But I still want to mention it when we're actually on the podcast, so I'll put it on there. Astria Ascending, I didn't play. Heard it was pretty bad. Tom seemed to like what little he did play. My brother liked what little he played too, but reviews were very, very, very negative. Moonglow Bay, I have not made time for. Like the soundtrack from what we heard last week on recording, or I guess earlier this week. I don't know what you say. I guess it was Saturday last week. I don't know. I just haven't made time. I have it downloaded. It's on Game Pass. Seems good. Does that go on? Yeah, I'll put it on Notable. Ring of Pain just goes on Others. That was an okay time. I'm glad I won a run of it, but I didn't go back for more, you know? Which is the sign of a good roguelike, is when you finish a run and then you just want more and more and more. I think. Monster Crown. Wait, do I have that on here twice? Didn't I say that earlier? I swear I said Monster Crown earlier. And the shitty Note app doesn't have like a search function. Hold on. I gotta fix this list if I have that on here twice. Yes, I do have it on here twice. Yeah, we already talked about Monster Crown. Let me delete one of these off here. Into the Pits. That's another Game Pass game that I've downloaded. That seems cool. Roguelike first-person shooter that's kind of like rhythm-based, I think. Seems really interesting, but I haven't made it any time to even try it, so. Echo Generations. I got a dishonorable mention. It's okay, so maybe not, because these games are like actively bad. I'll just put it in Others. But definitely not a great game. Great soundtrack, and there's some fun times early on in that game, but it gets pretty bad pretty fast. Echo Generation, Inscription. That's almost certainly in the top 10, I think. I really enjoyed that game a lot. Really weird, subversive stuff going on there that I won't talk about. Solar Ash I didn't make time for, and also it's for like $40 is the main reason. Honestly, I probably would have made some time for it if it was on Game Pass or something, or it was like an affordable game. But for an indie game that's like 6 to 8 hours long, I think I've heard. $40 is a big ask, so I wasn't down for that. But it seems cool, and I know it's like one of Kyle's favorite games of the year, Kyle Hilliard. Nuclear Blaze? I'm trying to even remember what the hell that is. I must have gotten it on Game Pass or something. The only reason I can think why. Maybe it was recommended to me? I don't think it's on Game Pass. Maybe it is, though. It's like a side-scrolling firefighting game. It looks cool, I like the art style. I see why I put it on here as a game I should play, but it's not going to go on any kind of list here. Considering I couldn't even remember it. This definitely goes into honorable mentions just because it's early access, so it's definitely not going to make my top 10. But Darkest Dungeon early access came out this year. Oh, sorry, Darkest Dungeon 2 early access. Is it? I think it's just the number 2. I don't know. I had a really good time with that early access. I played like 25 hours over a couple weeks. But I didn't I did kind of what they have in the game for right now. I didn't like unlock every skill for every character or anything, but I did like beat the one boss that's in there now. But honestly, I'm not sure if I could beat that one boss even now because with each patch they've done 2 major patches. They keep making the game much harder and in doing so much less fun, which sucks. But hopefully by the time they full release, they will have it in a good place where it is challenging but still fun and accessible somewhat. Because right now with the changes they've made, like it's become a grueling, stressful challenge that I don't super enjoy. At least with the first patch. I didn't even play after the second patch, but I read the patch notes and it's like, hey, we made it even harder. You got to do even more to be able to win this run. So I don't know if they're just making it harder to, like, I don't know, make people come back and like be like, this is technically kind of new content because I haven't beaten the boss with these new conditions, and maybe they'll like revert some of them. And also, I mean, it's early access. They're testing things. They're seeing what works, what sticks. But it's like, it's become less fun since both patches. Well, the first patch, the second patch, I read the patch notes and I assume it's less fun. But I did really enjoy my time that I spent with it. One second. I just realized I should have like some music in the background of this or something. I don't care if it gets struck down by the gods. Although maybe I should just go to like go grab some Midnight or something. Is the Midnight on Spotify? I know they let you play their stuff on streams. Just have something in the background for when I'm not talking. Should be very quiet. Maybe I should bring it up a tad. Certainly don't want it to drown me out. Just looking at audio levels, trying to fight the right level here. That seems fine. Ugh, man, you know, I don't like lyrics while I'm doing this. Yeah, you know what? I don't want this to get muted or anything either, though, so fuck it. Fuck it. Where was I on my list? Ember. This is a game that I haven't pitched to, like, you or Tyler or Tom or anybody that we play games with, just because there's so much out all the time. But this is like a firefighting first-person game up to 4 players. It seems very goofy, very fun. I watched a stream of it at min-max, and just seems like a blast. But I think it's full release now. I think it was in early access when they played it, but I think it's full release in like October and is on consoles and stuff now. Might even be on Game Pass. No, I don't think so. But yeah, that seems super fun, and I do want to play it. I don't think it would have made a top 10 or anything though. Demon Turf, man, I forgot that even released. I'll put that on notable games. I had a blast with that like demo. And I want to play the full release, but I didn't make time. Didn't make money for it. Unpacking, I'll put in honorable mentions. That game is... Oops, God, my brain is broken. That game is really impressive, the way that it tells a story through environments only. There's no dialogue in that game whatsoever. It's just you unpacking into a person's apartments and houses and stuff throughout their entire life, and it tells a very clear story with that. You know exactly what this character is going through, how their life has progressed, and where they are by the end, and it's awesome. Like, that's such a creative, unique game. That one is definitely on the cusp of making the top 10, just because it's incredibly interesting. Let's see, unpacking Among Trees I did not play, but that's like a cool survival game in a forest. Seems very like Subnautica, but in a forest basically. Seems cool, but I didn't play it again. Bright Memory Infinite. God, I thought that came out last year, but then I heard it came out this year, and maybe this is like a new version. I think it was just Bright Memory before, and now it's Bright Memory Infinite. I don't know. I heard mostly negative things anyway, though. I heard it's really fun, but only like 30 minutes long or some shit. But I still want to play it because it seems really cool, but probably not worth putting on any list here. Backbone, I mostly have on here because Tyler really liked at least the first hour, and I really like that song that he brought, Abode. Doesn't really seem like my type of game. Don't think it needs to go on any list here, but I have it on the list. I have it downloaded. I have it on the 2 playlist, I should say. Lemnis Gate, which my phone had autocorrected to Lewis Gate, which was very funny to me. That's that really weird first-person shooter that I don't think I actually want to play even, honestly, but I want to watch smart people play, where like you... starts with you and one other guy. I think it's just you and one other guy. And you can run at each other, you can shoot wherever you want, do whatever you want, and then after a certain amount of time, it rewinds, or maybe it's after one of you kills the other. It rewinds you back to your starting positions, and those actions that you just did play out again, but also you're still playing again and creating a new loop of actions, and it like keeps going like that, and I don't know when it ends or whatever. It's probably to a certain number of points. Seems incredibly cool, incredibly complex. I don't know that I would want to play it, like I said, but it's super cool. I'd probably play a few matches and be like, wow, this is very cool, but I'm not going to play it. Lost Words Beyond the Page got pretty good reviews. Seems interesting. It's like an indie side-scroller with an interesting story, narrative kind of thing going on, but I didn't play it. Again, another one I didn't play. I think it came to Game Pass. I just haven't made time, but I don't think it needs to go anywhere on here. Seems interesting, but not amazing. Hex Tech Mayhem. Again, wouldn't make any of these lists, I don't think, so I'm not going to put it anywhere, but that's the side-scrolling Bit Trip Runner style game from the Bit Trip Runner developer, but in the League of Legends universe, where you play as Ziggs. Seems cool. Seems fun, but I didn't play it. Ruined King. I guess I'll put that in notable. I know Rob's been enjoying what he's played of it. And I know my brother enjoyed what he played of it, although he has some problems with some things, but it's received pretty middling to negative reviews, and I didn't really like that studio's other game that much, their other like turn-based RPG that they made. Airship Syndicate is the developer. What was it called? People really love it, but I thought it was pretty middling. and this seems like this one's very much in the same vein. Death something. I don't know. Whatever, it doesn't matter. So I don't know that I would actually make the list, but it is a game I want to play. Notable enough. XL1. Oh, I didn't even put a score on that. XL1 was okay. If you haven't heard of it, it's like weird momentum-based 3D platformer, I guess you could call it, where you play as a marble and like you go down hills and then up other hills, and then you can turn yourself into a disc to like kind of glide through the air for a little bit, but as a timer, so eventually you turn back to a ball and you need to like land on a hill again and go off another hill, keep your momentum going. That game has like 11 planets though, and by the end of the second one I looked up how many planets there were, because I was like, if there's like 5 or 6 or something, maybe I could see myself getting through this, and then I saw there's 11 or 12 or whatever, and I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna play the rest of this. It's fine. The aesthetic keeps changing every level, which is cool, and each level is only like 15 minutes or so, but like, I don't know, the new aesthetic is like, this is cool for like a minute, but then I gotta play 14 more minutes of this game that I've already mastered because it's very simple, and I don't want to do that for every level. So yeah, it doesn't go on any of these lists. Or well, I guess it goes on others because I did play enough of it to have an opinion or whatever. Archvale. I don't think it goes on honorable mentions quite, but I did enjoy it a lot more than I expected to, definitely. That's the isometric dual stick bullet hell shooter where you craft your own weapons out of monster parts and stuff. Very satisfying game loop until you get an OP build and you just blast through the rest of the game. That's also satisfying though, just in a different way. There's no more loop. It's just, hey, I'm gonna fucking blast this shit. Dicey Dungeons is on here. You talked about that game recently, Ryan, and it was already on here because I have it downloaded and I want to play it at some point. It seems cool, but I haven't made time for it. Doesn't go anywhere, I don't think, yet. The Gonk. I'll just put on others. I like that game quite a bit. Gave it an 8.25 for reference, which is certainly higher than most of the internet. But it didn't blow me away. It's like a good, I don't know, good kind of vibing, like kind of chill game, where you're sucking up gunk, you're fighting enemies occasionally, but the combat's bad, so don't worry about that. I don't know, it's like, it was fun to explore the world for a while, but even at 5 hours, 6 hours, something like that, I was bored by the end, honestly. But it was fine. It was a fine game. Shovel Knight Pocket Dungeon, we talked about. I haven't played it yet. Well, maybe we didn't talk about it because I just moved it over. I haven't played it yet, but it looks cool. Looks fun. I'm sure I would enjoy it if I had money for it. Or time. And the last one, which also just goes in others, is Mighty Goose. I had a fun time with that game, but it's not top 10 worthy or anything. It's just silly, goofy, fun, side-scrolling, metal slug-like, I guess you would call it. And that's it. Those are all the games that I played enough of this year to have an opinion on. Let's see, how many are there here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Let's just do this for now. 5. I'll delete these numbers here in a minute. I'm just curious how many games I actually did play enough of to make an opinion on. 44. So there's that 49, 67, 74 games I played enough of to have an opinion on. Guess I'll leave that number down here. All right, so considering I had 7 that I went through and said, yeah, that's probably a lock. I'm gonna say these are basically a lock. Now I gotta find which 3 out of here to bring up is the hard part. And it's a very hard part. Bowser's Fury is really good. I think I probably bring up Bravely Default 2. It's my most played Switch game, and it was really amazing. Knockout City, God, that was a lot of fun. I could definitely see that at like my number 10 spot or something. Let's start like, I don't know, kind of ordering these. Both of those, that should stay up there, that should stay up there. Oliha is one that, like I said, I probably couldn't like even talk about what I liked about it at this point, so I can bring that down here. I'll put that above Omori. Omori should be at the bottom just because it's not actually, you know, making this list, even though it's amazing. Unpacking, I really, really like a lot. I'll bring that up. So like, I don't know, this kind of zone. Before Your Eyes, I don't think is making the cut. Although I think it's cool. It's a cool, interesting game. But like I said, kind of emotionally manipulative in a way that I didn't love, but it definitely touches on some strong stuff that I'm a fan of games touching on. Unsighted is very cool, but was kind of a flash in the pan game in terms of like, I enjoyed it a lot, but I didn't remember it after I played it, really. Wildermyth is not making my top 10, probably. Toem, I did enjoy it, but like I said, the ending left me kind of, I don't know, it wasn't, like, it was all building to something, and then the thing it was building to did not end up being all that cool. Axiom Verge 2, I don't think makes the list, because Metroid Dread is already on there. Dodgeball Academia is a big contender. I think Death's Door makes the list. So I have, what, 8 up here? Everhead is a strong contender, so I think these, maybe include Dodgeball Academia in there. These are kind of my really strong contenders, honorable mentions. And I can only pick 2. And this is the hard part. I do like that I have like 4 AAAs and 4 indies on there right now. If you count It Takes Two as an indie, which again, I know, published by EA, but feels very indie. This is basically impossible. We're doing a top 15 list, right? Is that right? I think we're doing top 15. I'm just kidding. Man, I don't know. I don't know how to sort this out anymore. This is the hard part. The easy part was listing them all and saying, hey, that one was really good. That one was trash. That one was amazing. Let's probably not take Dodgeball Academia. Even though I had a lot of fun with that. I don't know if that's top 10 worthy. Everhead, I played so early in the year, it's kind of hard to talk to, like, what I really loved about it. So maybe I cut that. Rogue Heroes I played really early in the year, too. Maybe I cut that one just because I don't have a lot to say about it. It's just like a fun game to play with friends or family. But it's not like, I don't know, astounding game design or anything like that. God, Everhead is really cool though, and I didn't even give it its due. In the music episode, even though it has amazing music, it like barely didn't make the cut for me. Little Nightmares 2 I liked a lot, but I don't think it probably makes the list. God. It was very hard. It was very hard. I think Bravely Default 2, I loved so much that I think that does make the list. Best freaking job system in any game ever. And the Brave default system is still incredible. Very smart. So now I have 9 games up there. I only get to take one more. It's probably between these 5. Man, I'd really love to give Bowser's Fury shout out. I mean, I can give it a shout out still in honorable mentions, I guess. But Open World Mario just worked so well, so much better than you would think. Knockout City is really good. Really good. Guardians of the Galaxy is really good. Unpacking is so impressive in its weird game design. Man, this is possible. I will accept input from the chat if you'd like to give your input. I know you're probably going to pull for Guardians of the Galaxy, though, Ryan. Which may be one that I'm leaning a little lower on. Not because I didn't love it, but honestly, at this point, I kind of feel like it's gone from, you know, being incredibly underrated before it released to, I think, being a little bit overrated now. I think it's really good, but not like, it's not as good as Spider-Man. People are putting it on that level. And I don't think that's right. I don't think that's correct. Knockout City probably doesn't go on there just because we fell off it so hard that it's hard to speak to now, all the fun that we had when we played that a long time ago. It's impossible, man. I think Bowser's Fury is better for like a shout out and honorable mentions, maybe. So maybe it's between these 3. I do like the idea of, you know, I just moved up a AAA game, Bravely Default 2, of moving up another indie game. Either Everhead or Unpacking. I wish I'd played Everhead later in the year and I could speak more to all the things I loved about it. But it is a really cool, really cool game. Unpacking is just so, I don't know, it's such a new and interesting way to tell a narrative that only works in video games. Like, that's what's really impressive. Both of these games, like, what they're doing and saying only works in the video game medium, which is really cool. And like, they're both games that I don't think are gonna get talked about by anybody else on the podcast. I don't know. I guess I have no idea what Preston played this year, and I know my brother played Unpacking. I know he enjoyed it. By the way, Ryan, if you're still in chat, does Preston know our rules for Game of the Year? That it's like games that came out this year? I assume you probably told him, but I don't want to blindside him suddenly with like, hey, those games that came out this year, not just games you played this year. I mean, if anything, I guess we can just be like, yeah, Preston just did games that came out this year, or that he played this year rather, because we didn't explain the rules to him. We can just say that at the beginning of the podcast. But then I worry about other people being like, well, I wish I could have done that. This is really, really impossible. Did you let Preston know, like, how we do our game of the year, that it has to be stuff that released this year? And not just whatever you played this year? I just want to make sure he's not going to be blindsided by that when we start recording and have to completely change his list suddenly. Okay. That's good. That's good. This is impossible. Just sit here in silence while I mull over this. This battle for the ages between Unpacking and Everhead. I feel like nobody, man, I think I'm gonna do Everhead just because I think nobody heard of or talked about that game. And that's not true. There were articles and stuff out about it, and I know Serial Vasquez really loved it. I'm so sad that Serial had to leave MinMax this year. He had his taste aligned so much more with mine than maybe anybody else in MinMax. Like, he would have talked about Neo The World Ends With You. He probably played Tales of Arise, I think. He definitely played Everhood and loved it. He would have been a champ. He probably loved Inscription, I bet. A bunch of games that really just got left under the bed or shit on by MinMax, unfortunately. But it is what it is. Alright, I think that's my top 10. I might change my mind throughout the day. We'll see. But I think that is my top 10. And it's a strong top 10. Yeah, it's a good year for games. Alright. Well, that'll do it for the stream. That's close to 2 hours of just deliberating, 1 hour and 35 minutes. Yeah, thanks for coming out and watching, Ryan. Thanks to anybody who might be watching this later on YouTube. I'm gonna clean up some formatting stuff here. And then I'm gonna go, I don't know, probably play Immortals, Phoenix Rising. I'm having a pretty good time with that game. Yeah, of course, buddy. I will be back. I'll definitely be back in a week. Thursday morning, streaming something. I might have a bonus stream before then. I've been doing a couple bonus streams here and there. But yeah, thanks everybody. Bye.